Imagine a world where we could deliver our HR information for our employees at their fingertips. Now let's take this a bit further. Now imagine a world if we could deliver this HR information to our employees and have it personalized to who they are, what they do, and where they are. And this would generate an exceptional HR experience for our people. Now, in generating this experience, what if I said along the journey you could save almost $3.5 million within a year? So what Steve and I are going to talk about today is potentially how you could achieve this. How you could deliver artificial intelligence to improve and better the HR experience for your people. How you can drive HR in a different way by being agile, experimental, and also generate business value. Hi, I'm Kiran Jadav, and I lead a team that look at design and deployment of our HR technology, keeping the employee at the center of our design. I just want to introduce Steve. Steve is our global AI talent leader. What is it we're going to talk about today? What I would like to do is introduce you to our AI solutions, our cognitive chatbot, how we've implemented it, what is the business value that it's driving, and then how we did this. Before we go any further, I just wanted to introduce you, give a bit more context around Ernst & Young. Ernst & Young, globally, we have over 250,000 employees across 150 countries. Last year, we employed 65,000 people globally. So that's one person every 8 minutes, 365 days a year. Last year, we had over 2 million candidates who applied for roles within Ernst & Young. Out of our population, 75% are millennials. And those people, millennials, are expecting a level of digital readiness when they join Ernst & Young. And if I was to go back 18 to 24 months, where we were in our HR technology landscape, our technology, we had multiple HR solutions that were difficult to integrate, that really did not talk to each other. I don't know, some of you could relate to that as well. But that's what started our HR roadmap and our technology roadmap going forward. We've looked at what is it we need to do, but then also at the same time, how do we bring in AI into that to help us solve some of our HR problems? What we want to do today is show you our cognitive solution, Goldie, and I'm now going to hand over to Steve, who's going to go through some of that.
Thanks, Kiran. Okay, before I actually show you Goldie, let me just tell you where we got to and how we got to Goldie. Okay, so back in January 2017, our CHRO said to us, I'm running a bit of a fair, bring digital HR to me. So we were like, okay, well, what do you mean by that? So she was bringing together all of her talent leads globally, and she wanted to show or showcase digital HR. So we took along RPA, not the most exciting thing to take along, because we couldn't actually show it to anyone, we could just talk about it. We took along a chatbot called Chip, which Gert will remember and know, because it's the IBM Cognitive Onboarding Assistant. And we took along AR and VR. And the overwhelming pressure from that global talent leaders was, we need Chip. We need a cognitive onboarding assistant, or we need a cognitive assistant. So we said, okay, we'll give you one. Now, in EY, having a pilot is the norm. And Kiran mentioned that we have a lot of systems. We have over 700 talent systems. Okay, so it's huge. So pilots turn into systems. Pilots turn into unused systems. So we decided to do a proof of concept. 6 weeks, aimed at one group only. United States joiners from campus, from college. 700 people. We had 3 aims. Can we improve the journey, onboarding journey for our new joiners? Now, we sell time. We're a professional services firm. So if we can reduce our onboarding experience by 1 day, that means dollars to us, because they're out in the market quicker. So that's a good thing. Secondly, could we improve the onboarding experience for me, who's been there 14 years, so that I don't get asked, how do I connect to the Wi-Fi? Where's the printer? Where's the coffee? And thirdly, can our IT infrastructure stand up a chatbot enterprise-wide for 150 countries. So they were the three things. 6-week proof of concept. We got to week 4. There's some really interesting stats that come out of that, actually. One of them was, what's a fax? These were millennials, remember? They had no idea what a fax machine was. So that was one of our trending questions in week 2, I think. So we got to week 4, and what Kiran didn't tell you is that we are implementing success factors end to end. So that 700 systems is going to shrink. We're going for a full deployment of success factors. Week 4 of our proof of concept of our cognitive onboarding assistant, we called it Buddy. The lead stakeholder for our performance management module, which was the first one off the block for us, came to us and said, I want one of those. And we said, no, can't do that. Haven't got enough time. You're only a month away from go live. We thought about it. We showed them Checkpoint Bob, which was the IBM solution. And they said, yep, that's exactly what we want. So we said, okay, we'll see what we can do. So let me show you what we did. Okay, it's not going to knock your socks off, but it will show you what the EY employee base is using today. So this is Goldie. Goldie is our talent chatbot. And we, as I said, we implemented performance development first. And internally, we call it lead. So we didn't just implement a new system. We implemented a completely new global process for performance management. We went away from the usual rating, numbers, stars, all of that, to more of a, we were looking at things like gold standards and how you work, and it's more about the conversation you have. So one of our strap lines in EY is the better the conversation, the better the answer, the better the question, all that type of thing. So I'm sure you've all played with a chatbot before. Now, we had a lot of questions asked for the first month of, and I'm not going to steal Kiran's thunder, and he'll give you some figures later on, but there was a lot of questions. And I can't stand here and say to you that all of those questions were performance management related. We had people asking for it to turn the lights on, for it to make coffee, would it marry them, where was it born, so all of these things, what's the weather like, all of that type of stuff. And we started by saying, you know what, you've got to stick to business. This is a business talent chatbot. And we got so inundated with these questions, we were watching the backlogs and we were like, okay, we're going to have to embrace this. So you can now ask Goldie what the weather's going to be like. But we started looking at, okay, well actually, you know what, we should start thinking about wider than talent development and performance management. What else can we put in there? So we're about to go live at Christmas with EC. So if you know SuccessFactors, Employee Central is the main core HR system. So we were thinking, okay, we're going to go heavy on manager self-service, employee self-service. So how can we make that come alive for our individuals? We're going to ask them to do a lot of work. And I know in the audience, we've got someone that's actually ingrained into that process. So this will be news to them as well. So we were saying, okay, well, we can run some videos. That's easy to do. But can we get them into Goldie? And yes, can we? Of course we can. We can bring videos in. So that's okay. That's a really good training aid for our team. So really simple stuff. Then we started thinking, okay, so we have shared service centres all around the globe in EY. And our shared service centre in Birmingham came to us and said, we look after 12,000 people in the UK. Every week, we get asked 200 questions on references. So someone calls up and says, I need a visa reference. I need a mortgage reference. And we looked at the logs through our ServiceNow track. And basically, we were looking at it and said, all the person does when they answer that is send a link to a form, which then goes to a different team. So we did some work with Gartner. We did some link with Hackett. Our IBM colleagues helped us. And we found out that actually, every call roughly takes 10 minutes. So if we can save those 10 minutes, we can save a baseline figure because we know what that 10 minutes costs us. So these are quite easy things to do, very easy. It's just content, and we heard about data earlier on and managing that data. One of the things we're looking at with this is the cost realization benefit. Our hope, and we've started this for now 3 months, and it's working in our favour, in Goldie's favour. Our hope is that the number of questions that go through ServiceNow in from our shared service centre will drop, and the number of questions will go up in Goldie. So this is a nice small trial for us. So that's Goldie. As I said, there's not a lot that's going to blow your mind off there. It's just a simple chatbot. Goldie has been phenomenally successful for us. We have a whole stream at the moment of trying to get our arms around stopping people creating more chatbots, because we only want one chatbot. Imagine the employee experience when they have to go to one country for, let's get the local data in this chatbot, and then, this is global, so I now need to go to Goldie and get that. So we don't want any of that. We're not going to stop it, but we're going to contain it. We're looking at the back end of Goldie at the moment, and you're doing something called orchestration or brokering. So we have one single UI, which will probably be, will be MS Teams, and it will go through an infrastructure. We have strategic alliances with a number of big companies that will go through an Azure framework and Microsoft basically, and then link out to the IBM cloud, which will be Goldie. But of course, there are other vendors. SuccessFactors, for instance, they have Leonardo, Copilot. They have a machine learning engine that they want to connect in. And we've taken the stance in EY that why would we build something that another vendor is building and we've bought? Let's just connect into it. So that's all to come.
Thank you very much, Steve. So you've heard from Steve what Goldie does and also how we've delivered Goldie. So one of the questions we get asked quite regularly, what is the business impact of Goldie or artificial intelligence within E&Y? Which is one thing I want to talk about, and then we'll talk about how we did it. So the first impact that we've had with Goldie is the employee experience. For us, Goldie has driven a consumer-like experience, like when you go on other websites and as you're on that website, you get a chat pop-up coming trying to guide you through what it is you're trying to do. So that's the sort of experience we're trying to ultimately try and deliver to take the employee. But if you remember those millennials I talked about earlier on, for them, this drove a different level of experience. Goldie really brought that technology edge for those millennials. And this was evident by the number of questions Goldie answered within the first month. In the first month alone, Goldie answered just about 500,000 questions for all employees globally across 250,000 people. So what was the business value? You may have figured it out. But for us, Goldie gave us an ROI, a return of investment, within 7 days. Yes, within 7 days, Goldie paid for herself. And this was driven by the sheer fact that we saw a significant reduction in the number of calls that went to our shared service center. Now, if you think about and take a conservative amount for a cost of a call to a shared service center, the amount of minutes it takes to answer, log all the information, you can see, based on the number of questions Goldie has answered, that this could add up to be quite a significant cost saving for you all across the world, globally for your firms. So the brand, what does that bring for our brand? Internally and externally, this has given us an opportunity, but also put HR in the spotlight in the work that we're doing across AI. Like today, we're very fortunate to be presenting here and sharing our story. We have also presented at other conferences globally, sharing our AI stories. We've been asked by our clients to say, hey, could you share our story or share your experiences with us? And we've been working very closely with our IBM colleagues to go out there and partner together to share these stories and share our experiences to help them to see how they could drive AI cognitive chatbots as well. Our culture change. Now, I personally think by implementing Goldie has brought a significant culture change in E&Y. And it's really impacted how we operate and how we deliver our programs across EY. So it took us actually, and we've never moved as fast as this in E&Y to implement global solution. It took us 31 days to implement Goldie as a global solution to across 250,000 people. So
if you have an employee base, or if you're trying to drive a positive experience in your employee base, this is about getting them away from searching through reams of data, through websites, all of that, and giving people, through the natural language that you use in the chatbot, giving people a really easy way to access that data. There is a lot of work in the back end. We get the whole piece of it's going to take my job away. The HR teams in our shared service centres we don't want to go anywhere near Goldie. We're not giving you any data. But actually we're saying, no. What we're trying to do is we're trying to help you on that level, that reference data I was saying, that really easy stuff. Do you really want me sending links all day? We want you to do more value add. I think I read something the other day, I think McKinsey might have said it, that AI will destroy 1.8 million jobs, but it will create 2.2 million. So, we don't see any impact on our employee base.
One of the other changes that this has brought is that we are now becoming more agile, more experimental in the solutions we're developing, especially around artificial intelligence, disruptive technology. And this is also keeping in mind design thinking, keeping the employee at the center of the solution to develop and design a better one. And also, as part of this change, we're also looking at how we get the right people, AI technology, to help our people to understand what careers and futures they also have within digital technology as well as AI. So now what I'm going to do is hand over to Steve, who's now going to talk a bit more around how we did it.
So let's look at our process of how we did this. So I mentioned before we have global alliances. So we have global alliances with Microsoft, with SAP, and with IBM. We took the initial chatbot from IBM, we just showed them theirs. And we've now grown that relationship to help us push out Goldie in the 31 days. IBM actually came to us and said, it's too fast. We can't go that fast. And we're like, yes, you can, because we're going to be agile about this. So think about it. We did performance management. Performance management is a year cycle. We break it down into 4 cycles of 3 months. So when we actually went live with that 31 days, it sounds a great figure, really good, impactful. But actually, all we did was looked at what were people going to be doing to start in the system and what did they need to know. So we had to drive adoption of the new process. So the first thing for our performance management cycle is feedback. So we loaded it high with all of the feedback questions. And we basically took the frequently asked questions that were being coming out of the work stream that was implementing the lead module and turned those into the intents for the chatbot. Now, the good thing about that is that they were all really focused on the new process. You do have to break that down because one quick reference guide might actually have about 20 different intents coming out of it. We did look at, okay, people might actually want to print things off, so we gave them the quick reference guide as well. Kiran mentioned 75% of EY is millennials. Well, there are 25% that aren't. I'm one of them. And sometimes they don't want to work with a chatbot. I was rather worried earlier on when Gert said, the old people in the car had grey hair, and I was thinking, oh my God, so I'm a bit grey, and I don't class myself as old yet. But so we were trying to make our approach to the chatbot agile, not only from the speed of implementation, but how people would use it. One of the biggest things that we found, and this really helped with the alliances, was data. People forget that actually the chatbot needs training. The data needs to be in the right place. Now, we were very lucky with lead because it was all new data and we knew where it was. But we started now thinking, okay, what if we put the maternity leave policy or the paternity leave policy in Goldie? We've got 150 countries. We've got 150 policies, even if it's the same policy with a country change. We know that probably only 60% of those are in a repository that we could access. Others are on people's laptops. They're in spreadsheets, probably. In some parts of Central Africa, they're probably a bit of paper that they photocopy each time and give out. So we've got to try and get our head around how do we get that data all organised and into Goldie. We're looking at Discover, is what you saw earlier on. The next thing we did is we put our people at the centre. Too often in the future, talent systems have been implemented based on what the HR team think the employee base want. We decided that, we're not going to do that. We're going to ask people what they want. We're going to get the user in the room. So we ran design thinking sessions, and we've got the post-it notes as well to prove it. And we ran those with new joiners, so the millennials that had just joined from campus, new joiners who were experienced hires. If any of you know anything about professional services firm, from the Big Four, for instance, probably 10% of all of the experienced hires we hire have got one of the other Big Three on their CV. So it was good to hear their perspective. And then we were looking about, what about us as current employees that have been there 10, 15 years? What do we want out of the new system? So we put all of that into the melting pot, into the mix, and we came out with, this is how we're going to produce Goldie. So it was really, really key to get the people at the centre of this. And that was a new concept for EY. And lastly, we embraced this really technical term, Scrappy. We just went for it. It was a case of ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Okay, we put the name Goldie up. EY is so brand conscious they don't want Goldie. Goldie is, we're constantly being told you need to take Goldie down. Goldie needs to be renamed, can't be. Now, Goldie is named after the gold standard of our performance management system. The brand team were like, no way, you can't have that. But it was a case of, well, ask for permission after the fact. So we really got scrappy with this. We got it out there in 31 days. We looked at, okay, what do we need to deliver? All of that. And that's really how we've carried on. We were a bit more structured now. Our IT team was going, we can't work like this. Agile methodology. We get it into a backlog. We need a program manager. So we've done all that now. We're working in that way. And as we go through the next iterations, the whole infrastructure around AI that we're putting in place, so that's why we've not got single sign-on, we went too fast. So now we're taking that step back to say, okay, we now need to implement that and we're doing it the right way. But if you're able to move in a scrappy way, then that's a really cool way to do it. Get it out there, get the employees using it. And we took feedback from the employee base. And we were looking at those questions that were coming through on a weekly basis, and in some cases a daily basis. At 500,000 though, we were like, wow, of that 500,000, probably 70% were delivering the correct intent at the time. So our confidence levels were around 70%, which, you're going to say, okay, some of you might say that's good. Some of you might say, well, what about the other 30%? Three out of 10 answers weren't correct. And yes, they were. But that's how we just thought, okay, this is new, let's just see what we can do. And we were constantly looking at that back end. But that takes time. That data still needs to be managed. The chatbot in it still needs to be trained. So Scrappy's great. We were really pleased we did it. There are a few lessons we've learned along the way. Okay, let me just cover a couple of those. One of the questions I always get asked is, what would you do differently? There isn't anything I'd do differently. But what I would say to you is don't try and make the perfect chatbot. I know of people in large multinational organizations that are trying to guess every single question that's ever going to be asked of the chatbot. And their pilot or proof of concept is still there 2 years down the line. They're still at proof of concept because they won't release it because they're worried that they're going to get the wrong answers going out. Now, you have to take that leap of faith. It's getting better all the time. It still needs to be trained. We went with it 70-odd% where we're lucky and we're happy with at the moment. But it's growing. Now, you may have saw on Goldie, we had thumbs up, thumbs down. The other thing we get is EYers are really good at giving us thumbs down. They're not so good at giving us thumbs up. And Goldie needs the thumbs up, thumbs down to help it learn. So people put in the question, they'll get the answer, they like the answer, they'll move on. If they don't like the answer or they think the answer's wrong, they give us a thumbs down. So we're struggling with that at the moment. We're getting a lot through that are thumbs down, but actually are the right answer. If you think about it, some people are coming into the company new, asking a question, not knowing the answer because they're asking a question, and then say, no, that question's wrong. It's not wrong, it's that they don't like the answer. Okay? And we've seen this with our references. So people go into Goldie, they're told to go to Goldie, they get the reference data, all great, and then they still ring the service desk to say, can I have the reference data? And you're like, well, how about we see you twice? So where next? Okay, I've talked a little bit about this. This is one of our strap lines. No matter when you join, no matter how you work, no matter how you leave or when you leave, the experience for you as an employee should be a good one. Okay, so we want good leavers. We want great joiners. And whilst you're here, we want you to have a good time. And we want you to have a really good experience as we go through. So we have gone live with Candidate Assistant. So this is live. This is so if you want to play with this, the full version, it's on ey.com US careers, and you need to search for experienced hire. Okay? So that the first question comes up, need help finding a job. So Kiran said to you earlier on, 1 person every 8 minutes, 2 million applications a year. So our recruitment teams tell us, we don't want any more candidates. We've got enough candidates. What we want is better quality candidates. And I'm sure your recruitment teams say exactly the same thing to you as well. It's the quality that's coming through. So why not give, through the use of a chatbot, why not give AI a go and let it come to you and tell you, as a candidate, instead of me going searching for a job, why doesn't it tell me which job I'm good at? Now, we have seen, and we've only had this live, I think, for 4 months now, we have seen our time to hire in the US experienced hire drop because of this. People are working through this, they're enjoying using it, we're getting really positive feedback. We are also getting to be able to see what people are searching for, and that's exactly what the lady said in the video. So the sorts of questions people are putting in, so we're changing our content on the front end. Interestingly, on this and on Goldie, 1% of all of the questions, and in Goldie now, we've been running 18 months, we have 2.2 million questions asked. 1% of those are thank you Goldie responses. So people are actually thanking the chatbot. Okay, so whatever takes your fancy, and that's how it works, but that's how it works. So I know that Kiran and I have given you quite a whistle stop of this is what we've done in EY. I know it seems like, because we're using IBM products, all of that was staged. I can guarantee you it was not. But I can also say to you that the employees and the employee experience of EY are the key to all of this. We had to drive adoption in our new systems. We were giving new global processes, we're giving new global systems. So we needed a tool to help us do that, and we think we've found that. So I hope we've shared enough content. Please connect with us on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to answer questions there.